My top tips for people who love to write are, number one, write from the heart. So by that I mean write about things that you really care about, because often you can come up with an idea and it's very exciting at first, but soon, you know, you kind of lose interest in it. So write about subject matters or issues or emotions or whatever that really mean something to you, because that will get you through, especially if you're writing a novel or a book. You know, that takes a long time. So it's important you feel passionate about the subject matter, because that will kind of keep you coming back to it day after day, word after word after word. The second tip is to write regularly. So writing, it's almost like writing is a muscle in a sense. It's like we have a writing muscle. And the more you use it, the better and quicker and sharper you become. So it's exactly like running. You know, if you wanted to run a marathon, you'd obviously have to do regular running practice in the run up to that. If you want to write a novel, which is I think the literary equivalent of running a marathon, then you obviously have to write regularly and frequently to get the mileage in, to get the word count up. But also it's not just about getting the words on the page. The more you write, the better you become. So I'd always advise someone, it's far better to write for just half an hour most days than to sort of just write once a month for an 8-hour binge and then do nothing else for another month, because then you get rusty again, you get out of practice. So definitely important to write regularly. My third tip would be regarding criticism. And this is a tricky one, because I think writing can be a very personal thing. And so therefore, when you get criticised, or your work gets criticised, then it's very hard not to take that personally. But often criticism will be very constructive and can help you to become a better writer. So it's all about being able to discern between what's constructive criticism and what is just, you know, just a bit nasty or negative. And unfortunately on sites like Wattpad, online writing communities, there can be a lot of, you know, sort of negative, nasty criticism that's not going to help you at all and just make you feel crap. So you have to kind of become immune to that. But if you find that you've written a piece of work and you show it to people who you trust, whose opinions you value, and they come back, or most of them come back with the same comment. For example, most of them say something about the main character not being very sympathetic, then I think it's important to take that on board and think, well, have they got a point? And you'll kind of know if they do, because I think it will kind of resonate, even though it might mean rewriting a lot, which is a real pain in the neck. If you get some criticism and you think, yeah, they may well have a point, then take that on board and use it. Let it help you become a better writer. So my fourth tip is to write for the joy of it. And by that I mean, don't get sidetracked by thoughts of book deals and success and fame and, you know, all the other things that you could kind of get sucked into and panicking about, well, will anyone like this? Will anyone ever publish this? Try really hard. I know it's hard because, you know, I've been there, but try really hard to kind of protect yourself from that kind of thinking. And if you ever feel that you're getting into that, you know, that the writing is sort of becoming stressful because you're so worried about, will anyone want this? Will anyone publish this? You know, is this a waste of time? Then try and remember, what made you write in the first place? Chances are you've always loved to write, you know, so think about back when you were a kid and you'd come up with an idea for a story and you'd get your pad out and your pens out and you just scribble it all down and you'd maybe draw some illustrations. And you never once had a voice in your head saying, oh, you know, will I get a book deal for this, or will anyone like this, or are my parents going to laugh at me for this? I mean, you just didn't. That just doesn't happen when you're a kid. You know, if you have a story, you want to write it, you enjoy every second of writing it, and then it's done. And so it's all about trying to recapture that same joy for writing and that same passion, so you're just sort of spilling the ideas onto the page and not worrying about what anyone else thinks, because the thing is, you can always tweak and rewrite and edit your stuff to your heart's content once the first draft is down. So write for the joy of it. And my fifth tip is to write about what you know. And I don't mean this literally, because then no one would ever, write a fantasy book or a sci-fi book. So I don't mean you have to just write about your personal life or write an autobiography. But what I mean is draw upon things that you've experienced and put them into your book. Because I think that just gives the book, whether it's set on Mars or Jupiter or whatever, or in some fantasy world, you're going to have characters in your book, and your characters are going to have dramas and emotions that are pretty much universal, that you want your readers to relate to. So it can really help your writing to draw upon experiences that you've been through. And for me, with the Moonlight Dreamers, I'll give you an example. None of the characters in the Moonlight Dreamers are based on me, and none of the things that happen have really happened to me literally. But there is, there's one part of the book towards the end where Rose ends up in a kind of internet storm and at the centre of a news story. And that has happened to me. And I have experienced having journalists kind of swarming, trying to get hold of me and, kind of like a pack of vultures. I have experienced the fear that causes and what it's like to see strangers talking about you online who know nothing about the thing that's happened. So I know, how frustrating that can be, how terrifying actually that can be. And so I drew upon those experiences for the book. So although, I've never, thankfully, had a topless photo of myself go viral, like, Rose has in the book, I could draw upon my experience of being involved in a big sort of online story and how scary and confusing and horrible that can be. And hopefully, by drawing upon and writing about what I know, it's made that part of the story that bit more real and vivid and emotional.